It's Enrico Pallazzo!
Utah, give me 2.
Pallazzo!
Hi, everybody. Pallazzo Podcast.
Utah, give me 2.
You get 2 every time you come to the show. You might get more than that, but at the very least, you get 2. Utah, give me 2. 2 L's, 2 Z's. Benjamin Chase up there on the right, on my right. If you're looking the way we're looking, I guess it would be on his left. And then Robbie's up there in the corner with his, what do we call the Jose Canseco sunglasses?
These are the $8 home hardware sunglasses. Thank you very much.
Oh, even better.
I wanted my son asked for these one night.
My son.
I decided he deserved them, and then 2 days later for his birthday, he ended up getting a nicer, smaller pair. But he likes to wear both.
Great job.
So they're the baseball glasses.
They definitely are. Yeah, those are definitely baseball glasses. Todd's here saying evening. Hello, Todd. Good to have you aboard, my friend. Always looks forward to our Monday night 8 p.m. Prospects Power Hour. Dave White said, who's the first starting pitcher called up for the Giants? Everyone wants to talk about that. And we're going to get to the MLB News of Note, which has a lead subject, Ben, right about now. Of course, I want to remind everybody we're here to do AL and NL Central Ultimate Prospect Lineup. Last week we did the AL East and the NL East. If you missed that, check out our YouTube channel. Go to our podcast feed, Pallazzo Podcast, 2 L's, 2 Z's.
Utah.
We're everywhere you can find shows, live streams, podcasts. We put together 2 doozies of a lineup. We're going to do that again in a little while. But, Ben, let's start talking about it. Come on. Devers trade has shocked the world last night.
I thought we were talking Forrest Whitley.
Yeah!
I'm sorry.
Forrest Whitley talk.
That was the big trade.
Any fantasy baseball podcast is never far away from talking about Forrest Whitley. Actually, last night I put Casey Schmidt on our weekly Fab show. We do a fabulous waiver wire chat show every Sunday here, 1 o'clock, live. Make sure you check it out. And I put Casey Schmidt on the cover, Ben. And then 5-6 hours later, he looks like an afterthought on the Giants.
Well, not for now. I would wager to say that Rafi Devers is probably not coming to San Fran to play third base. Because Chapman is hurt right now. I would bet that
You think they'll ask him to move, do you, Ben?
No, I think they're just going to be fine with having him sit at DH and stay there, and then they can figure out things in the offseason. But you move, well, technically not move. You put Wilmer Flores back at first base because that's what he has been playing the last few years, and his on base or his OPS not on top of well above average defense suddenly makes that a lot better position for the Giants. They are one of the worst teams at first base this year. And even as good as Flores has been, their overall DH is something like the 7th worst in all of baseball. So you quickly get Devers in there, and that's going to drastically change that lineup. In Boston, I guess they're really excited for the kids to play, because that's really the only thing I can explain here is that they want to get more time for guys like Roman Anthony and Marcelo Meyer and guys like that. Once Bregman gets back, they want to make sure that those guys can keep playing, which honestly, I don't know how you do the Devers trade and don't start selling off other pieces.
Wow, dude.
I don't know how you do that one trade only. That just seems like a bad idea.
So, Mike, how do you feel about this trade?
In what way? Like from a fantasy perspective, or just in general?
Like you look at the trade from a baseball perspective. You're like, these teams just traded these players in this particular scenario with Devers. I like it or I don't.
I really like Kyle Harrison. I know you do too. I know Ben does as well. And we all like Kyle Harrison to a certain extent. So that's interesting. I don't care about ownership money. People, they have such an investment in, like, it's their money. Like, I don't care. So, like, for me, I'm the kind of guy who's like, great, it's not my money. So, if you want to take on that contract for the next 10 years for the Giants and it gives you an offensive stud, which Devers is an offensive stud, then good for them. I was very surprised by it, despite all the chit-chat about him not wanting to play first base for the last 6 weeks, 2 months, really. So it was a surprise to me, Robbie.
Yeah, I just find it to be dumb from both ends. Like, I don't understand why Boston would be willing to lose Devers and then what you get back in return is not something you necessarily needed, which is two pitchers who have not fully been able to establish themselves in consecutive seasons at their
especially
position.
for Boston. Yeah.
Right. Because Boston just kind of went with the idea of we're going to get a bunch of arms and kind of make it work. And then they had extra injuries in the spring and should have learned a valuable lesson about making sure you have quality, not quantity. And they just went with more quantity. Now, we both just said we like Harrison. And Hicks was good last year. He's been very poor this year. And IL stint
Never
for him
liked
as
Hicks.
well.
Yeah.
But he was like that flame, like he could have been this great this or that. And then all of a sudden, closer. And all of a sudden he's starting. And now, so anyway, he's just not a proven commodity at his position at the moment. And then you got back prospects who I still don't understand. Marco Luciano would not be a fit in Boston, but would be a fit in that trade as far as you need to leave San Francisco's organization based on how they've done it. So you would do it. And then to Ben's point, you should then be making additional moves, which Luciano could either factor into a move or become more prominent of a return because you make other moves from your other positions. But you should get this move ready and then boom, boom, domino to make this happen. It's just so odd. Like San Francisco, good. And you hopefully have a first baseman, with a highly sought after prospect. Hopefully that is the case with Bryce Eldridge, but you've now clogged third base a second time. So again, like you said, Ben, it's really DH or bust for Devers, and he still reasonably won't be happy in a similar situation to you've got a much better defensive third baseman where you are now versus, and then you were in the same position when Boston brought in another guy. It just seems so odd for San Francisco to want it, other than of course, like you'll just say, hey, you can be our DH because they're watching Ohtani do it with the Dodgers and be like, hey, it's worth it if you're the best.
I wonder if, you do have someone like Posey who has Hall of Fame player credentials. I wonder if he is a guy who can say, you know what, come in, we're going to have you DH for the rest of this year. And then we'll talk in the offseason. Yeah. And handle it the way that a freaking GM should handle it, because Lord knows Breslow and John Henry and pretty much anyone involved with the Red Sox did not handle this situation correctly. And that has led to where we're at with Devers. So let's see how this works out. I see Chad had asked some questions regarding Tibbs, James Tibbs, who is probably the most well-known of the prospects. I think he's right now their fourth best first baseman in their system if he moves back to first base. So Boston really got essentially a platoon guy. I mean, I put it out there on Discord the other night. I think Tibbs is the guy I'm comping him to right now is David Freese. And that's an okay guy, but that's nowhere near a guy that you build a team around for sure. I think
win your World Series.
Yeah, and that's just it. But you needed Albert Pujols and Adam Wainwright and everyone else to get you to the point where you could make your name known in the 13th inning of a game. That's really what happened there. But man, I really think I don't know. I think Tibbs is. We talked about this last week. Robbie mentioned, gosh, he didn't realize. Blaze Jordan, great name, but didn't realize how well he'd been doing in the upper levels this year. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what the Red Sox have, is they kind of have guys like that pop all over the place. And I just don't know where Tibbs is going to fit. So anyway.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, a lot of comments. Boston just dumped a salary, so they better spend that money in the offseason now because they got it all opened up. Also, Alex Bregman could opt out of his deal. Right. That was part of the contract. So
which would be amazing to just throw that into the mix, in a few months.
Well,
especially the market for Devers, of course, but the return also wasn't what you should be getting for a guy like that because they took money. Boston's not supposed to care about money. And as Govier said, we don't care about money. We just want to see talent for talent. And I don't think that happened here, right?
I was just going to say, if this is traded in your fantasy league, I am very much anti-veto. But this is one that would really
Raise
get
that.
close.
Yeah.
This would get really close. And I'm, like I said, I'm a big fan of Tibbs for what he could be. I don't think he's ever a Division I regular, but I think he's like that guy who you draft as your fifth outfielder, and you're really happy with him in fantasy because he's steady in that role. I don't think he's ever going to be a guy that if you've got a 3 outfield spot league, that he's one of those 3, that sort of a player.
Great job.
Yeah.
But Kyle Harrison, I've loved Kyle Harrison since, his draft year. He's just not taking that step. And this is not the organization to take that step with. It's just not. It is. He's not a sinker slider guy. That's who they've had success with. The run that they had with Tanner Houck last year. He's a sinker slider guy. They just said, throw those pitches, focus on those pitches. Harrison has always been a sum of the parts pitcher. He has 4 very solid pitchers. It's just a matter of putting those pitches into the zone. And he hasn't really done that well in the upper levels and into the majors. It's not a matter of he's got 2 holy crap pitches and 2 okay pitches. So that's not the issue. That's not what they're worried about here. And that's what they've seemed to do well with, is guys like that. So anyway.
Is there any other fallout here that benefits fantasy wise real quick for like opportunities now gained or
David
lost?
Hamilton's in the lineup tonight.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
Well,
I
we're
got
good
excited
there.
about that last night, Robbie. I was like, okay, all right, David Hamilton could play more, but then, oh man, Luka's coming back on Friday. It's Willie Abreu, so he's going to slide right into that DH spot, and then that'll be that. So
I
mean,
really
for a
don't
moment.
know. Yeah.
For a moment, we got it.
that's right.
I honestly think that for fantasy wise this year, probably not. But what this almost certainly does, Bregman was off to a hell of a start with the Red Sox. That park really suited his skills well. And I almost guarantee he's not coming back next year. Almost guarantee he is not going to be here next year. So
Because he'll get more money.
Well, yeah, he'll be able to go
Longer
out somewhere. Yeah, he'll be able to sign probably not a 390, but if you could get 375 at his age, that's a pretty solid deal. You go do that every day rather than sticking with where you're at. So
Well, maybe they start talking now about it, right? About restructuring that whole contract now that the money's out. But one thing this does affect negatively for Boston, for fantasy owners, as you said, Govier, are guys like Richard Fitz, who were somewhat surprise rotation additions. Guys who were getting starts, and then Fitz got hurt, came back, and wasn't necessarily ready, so they pushed him back to AAA. I don't know that we're going to see him again. Unless baseball happens and there's a bunch of injuries, which is how we got to him in the first place. But he was a serviceable key addition for a few people out there in deeper leagues, and I think we're going to miss those guys because they're just going to throw a starter likely in their bullpen, and that'll be the guy that comes back, very much like Mitch Spence with Oakland, where the A's.
Hey, your boy.
Yeah,
Your main man from last week. What about Bryce Eldridge this year? Is it ruin it for us this year? Robbie, we love him.
Playoff push, maybe if he's doing
at
great,
best.
maybe they'd like push the button and bring him up, like we've seen Texas in the past do. And
I thought I might see him in a month, and that's not going to happen.
I don't think so that's going to happen. But seriously, if Eldridge is hitting like Caglione was hitting at AAA, Wilmer Flores is not keeping him off of the team. That's the whole thing. Is the conversation that was had around Caglione was, even if Hunter Renfroe is hitting kind of what you hoped Hunter Renfroe was hitting, the way Caglione was hitting, he's not keeping Caglione off the team. That's just not happening. And so that's where they're at. I bet you it's going to be a bit longer than, we're probably talking August. Let's see what happens at the trade deadline. Maybe Flores by then has turned into a pumpkin again, and he's just kind of a nice bench piece to have, and rather than what he has been this year so far, which is a legit starter every day.
Yeah.
And the Orioles might actually want to move a guy or two if they are really far back. Maybe they'll want to move one of their potential guys. So
Last thing on this, Chad says, talk to George Bissell today. Hicks is likely going to be a late inning reliever, and if Aroldis Chapman gets traded, he could slot into the closer role. So there you go. Yeah. And Britton says, Britton, by the way, we were on the show yesterday, Britton, and this trade happened 5 hours after we were on the air. Britton, Wilmer Flores is in the last year of his 3-year deal.
Yep.
There you go.
Which he could be a guy who maybe he is doing well. Eldridge is pushing things. They get to July 31st, and even if they're in first place, they trade away Flores to give Eldridge a job.
Hey!
You know, if they trust him enough,
Right.
they could be in playoff contention and still move Flores for long term. I mean, that's what a smart GM would do. And, you know, quite frankly, this is a smart GM move that Posey made to jump on a player like this for this price. Now, he's got to figure out the pieces and how they fit once everyone's healthy and everything right now. But
Sure.
so that'll be interesting.
You know what makes things, when you have big studs that are expensive, what makes things go better, or when you call up the rookies. So let's transition into that.
Yeah.
And this week, or this past week, we've seen Brady House, Jacob Mizorowski, Christian Moore, who, you know, for some was 11 months later than they expected. You know, post draft, everybody thought, oh, he'll be up first. Will Robertson, Grant Taylor, Braxton Fulford. I added to this. This is the Colorado catcher that I'd mentioned a long time ago, who just was doing okay. I would call him a nobody from nowhere, but he had a 314 average with 1,000 OPS in AAA, and now he's backing up because Jacob Stallings, who was supposed to be a fantasy sleeper in a lot of leagues this year, was DFA'd, and they decided to just move right on from him. So those guys are all up.
I will say I was surprised that they did not bring Romo up to catch that.
It says a little,
no
you know?
sense. Yeah, it says a
little,
lot.
though.
It might say a lot about Romo.
Yeah.
I think it's more keep starting. You're either a starter or you're not with us necessarily. And Fulford is found money. So,
yep. and as is Goodman. Goodman hit a home run tonight. You know, so Goodman's now got a dozen home runs. He's
playing great.
You know,
Hunter Goodman has been legit.
He is 100% their all-star representative.
So Govier, you just said he's legit. Is he legit because he's with the Rockies and has that park, or do you think he's a legit player? Because I got offered 1-for-1 my Kobe Mayo for their Hunter Goodman, 1 less year of Goodman. It'd be 5 of Mayo, 4 of Goodman. And I didn't really think that was something to consider because of the fact that he's in Colorado, and I didn't know how legit he was. But do you think this is like he could be moved, or nothing will change how he is? I've seen, you know, the 1 year guys with the Rockies recently.
Yeah, right.
Not make, you know, or the Rockies themselves not making playing time available for everybody. So I wasn't excited at that offer.
His statistical output has stood out to me every week when I'm doing my weekly wrap up on the Patreon on Sunday nights. Check it out. I'm seeing that he's just consistently getting things done. And he's still doing it. So that's it. I don't know if he's anything more than that, Robbie. I'd be afraid to, because his career, I'd like to see him walk a bit more. Like the plate discipline's not that great. So I need a floor to fall back on. So if this all goes to hell, is there anything there?
Yeah, and that's what I was kind of wanting. Just an outside the, you know, my own head with the Colorado guys.
I'd rather stick with Mayo for now, I guess.
Yeah. You want to hear some fun with Christian Moore? Christian Moore now becomes the 4th Angels first round pick to debut within
a year.
Within the end of his first full season on the team. Reed Detmers did that in August. Was the year after he got drafted. The only one who didn't was Sam Bachman, who actually made it really early in 23. But the last 3 draft picks have all debuted before 1 year after their drafting, because you know, this is less than a year for Moore. It was less than a year for Shanuel. It was less than a year for Neto. You know,
Coors.
And Neto's been the best of that bunch.
Oh, by far.
Oh, yeah. By far, yeah.
I mean,
definitely
part of it is because,
overshadowed.
you know, Denzel Clark keeps stealing things from Shanuel, but, you know, that's a whole nother issue. So,
Hey!
Minor league promotions, guys. We've got Chase Burns up to AAA now. Didier Fuentes as well, and that's Brave Talk. Brave Talk.
Brave Talk.
my one bit of Brave Talk there.
And then
Didier Fuentes is the youngest pitcher to ever pitch in AAA for the Braves.
There you go. Nailed it.
19 years old.
Youngest since Ian Anderson, you think?
No, he's younger.
No,
So-
just never forget.
Yeah.
Trey Savage for the Blue Jays. Their great hope now is in Double A. As I think we kind of talked about that last week.
Yep.
Slade Caldwell to High A, and Connor Griffin promoted to High A, and he is good at the baseball. We'll be mentioning him as the night goes
Brady
on.
House over 1 with a walk, by the way, in his debut so far.
I did notice Lance McCullers
up
was
right now.
slated to start earlier in the day when I was this week when I was looking earlier in the day to try to solidify my Jesus Take the Wheel pick, and he's now on the IL, which makes me wonder what's up with the Houston rotation moving forward.
Oh
And,
my God.
I think Arigatti is yet to hit a rehab assignment.
Not
but
yet.
he would be.
We're waiting.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say. So they're going to need somebody for 2 or 3 turns.
Brandon Walter,
So-
man. Brandon Walter, dude. Oh, did I blow you
Everyone,
up?
keep an eye out here, and in the Pallazzo family, make sure you're sharing the information as you see it for those guys. So
Go get Blue Ball.
No, Walter. I love Walter. Walter
He's
was
not as
so
fun
good
to
at AAA
say.
this year. You're right. He's not as fun to say. But Walter's number at AAA were stupid. He had like 23 Ks to 1 walk, and they're like, well, we got to bring him up for a spot start. Then they sent him back down. Then they brought him right back, and now these opportunities keep coming, and he had 9 Ks in his last outing. The guy just keeps pitching everywhere he goes this year for the most part.
He's been solid. My worry is whether he's got long-term big league stuff. He's the type of guy that on the second time through the league is going to get just really, really hit hard.
Oh, okay.
But that's I've worried about. I think he was with the Red Sox for quite a while.
Right.
Was he?
That was where it all was supposed to happen, and it didn't.
There's just a lot there that I never really liked.
I wonder if he
watching
figured something out. I don't know what it is because I'd have to research and find out. But I wonder if there's a change that happened here that has upped his game a bit because he's missing bats quite well right now. It's interesting.
A big part for him was always a matter of control, command and control, and hitting his spots and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. But anyway, we did mention Whitley. Whitley got traded. That was Forrest Whitley got traded. He's now with Tampa Bay. He's no longer with Houston, so he is not going to take any Lance McCullers starts. In fact, I am really
You know who they
curious-
could have needed? You know who Houston could have used is the next one up here, the Aaron Savale for Andrew Vaughn trade here.
Which
I don't know who
I gotta
Houston
say,
gave up, but
be careful what you wish for, Aaron Savale.
yeah, for sure.
You know, I demand a trade. All right. Well,
The
you're going to the
question
Red
is,
Sox.
would you rather
They're
be
like,
able to
oh
be
no, we're
pitching every 5
Milwaukee,
days or
we're
not?
desperate for
Which-
arms.
Right.
I will say, I did find it of that trade. I found it very interesting that the Brewers immediately demoted Vaughn and sent him to AAA to work with. That's where their hitting guru is within that organization. He is kind of camped in AAA. So if there is a potential that they're going to do anything with Vaughn, that's probably what they're trying to see here is that they're going to be able to do anything. Vaughn is a guy, he's got 1 year left of arbitration, and then he is going to be a free agent. So I would bet that they're trying to see if it's even worth them bidding on or offering him a contract in arbitration this year. So
I agree
that's
with you
probably
there.
what they're working with there.
And he was demoted already with the White Sox, so it's not like he went from the show down. He had a horrible year. I made a trade for him preseason for oh my goodness, who's the former Giant that went to Colorado and then had the hamstring injury and missed
Estrada.
Thank you. I traded both those guys with 1 year left. I traded away Estrada, got Vaughn looking to solidify first base. Ooh, what a miss there.
Yeah.
And then to see him go for Savale, the White Sox rotation, I don't really think has been their problem this year.
No.
But maybe this is just trying to help them to sustain the guys that
maybe
have
there's
been doing
actually a
perfectly good.
a meaningful effort to give like a veteran. Like I know the White Sox are not good at development. Ben's covered this ad nauseum, but maybe it's actually an attempt to be like, okay, this guy's a veteran. He's been around. Maybe some of our young guys could learn a thing or two.
And they could look to move
After
out.
this season, you'll be sent back to the minors
Yeah.
or given your outright release.
Yeah.
Who's they got a veteran there that's doing okay right
Bryce
now.
Wilson.
No, he was
no.
DFA'd.
Oh,
DFA'd Wilson. Yep.
I know. Adrian Hauser, the legend.
Hauser, thank you.
He's on fire. I have him everywhere now. I'm riding this. This reminds me of like the Johnny Cueto run of a couple years ago where it just kept going.
This is their Eric Fetty this year.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Found money.
Yeah,
Absolute
maybe
money.
he can be a trade piece, and then Savale slots in. So maybe in the next
Another former Brewer.
3 weeks we see some movement there. So Anyway, so we've got some retirement here. San Diego outfielder Joshua Mears retired at 24. Mason Denneberg, former first-round pick. I can't remember if it was 17, 18 with Washington. He has retired from professional baseball. He's going to go back to UNI and try to do football, which everybody knows you always retire from baseball and then go to football, not the other way around.
Hey,
Northern Iowa?
Gosh darn it. Who's the guy that played for the Blue Jays and then went back to Florida State? Chris Wenke went back he played for the Blue Jays and then went back and played college football and was actually an NFL starter for a year or two.
He won the Heisman. He won a national championship.
Yep.
Oh, wait, did they lose to Oklahoma? No, he was the Peter Warrick quarterback, wasn't he?
Hey, if it's not CFL, let's not waste everybody's time.
You're right. I'm sorry.
Nacho Alvarez is back.
Speaking of,
yeah,
there is a person from my hometown here who just had his number retired in the CFL this weekend. Garney Henley.
Okay.
With Hamilton. He just
cool. Ty,
so I'll get to interview him this coming week. So, but that, yeah, I figured you would really enjoy that.
I'm trying to think of. So they do their spring stuff at McMaster. All the universities host the CFL teams for spring training night or whatever you would call it. Their camps. So University of Guelph, which I used to work at, they do the Argos, Toronto Argos.
What about the Alouettes?
That's Montreal. Oh my God! Learn your Canadian football. Embarrassing.
I just knew that would annoy you.
And anyway, so when I worked at the University of Guelph, I thought it was pretty cool that we get to see all these guys come in and nicest guys you can imagine, and they're all working for not a lot of money. They're working because they love it and they'd love to get back in the show, just like Nacho Alvarez would be or will be and is, because he's back. Unfortunately, Jackson Jobe is going to have to take that signing bonus money and get him through another year because he is gone, baby.
The Tigers have a whole other rotation on their list. I looked at. There's literally 5 guys. It was Jobe, Cobb, Urquidy, Reese Olson's on. They have literally another 5-person rotation on the IL right now. It's pretty wild, which is also smart on their part, I guess.
But
to have that many injured pitchers?
Yeah, right?
This is why everyone coming into the year, this is why I was really thinking the Tigers had a good shot, is they had so much depth for starting pitching. I wish they would figure out who is their freaking closer in that bullpen. But
Will Vest has an issue now, so now is it Tommy Conley for the moment? We'll see what happens there.
But the rotation, they've been able to plug and play guys. It seems like you get a Sawyer Gibson long back about the time Jackson Jobe goes down, and you've got I wrote about Troy Melton. Troy Melton just got promoted, and he's really pitching well, and that looks like a possible number 4, number 5 guy. So interesting.
Yeah, they are moving a lot of bodies around, and they're still winning. They're still doing very well for themselves.
Go Tigers!
The Tigers, much like the fantasy community out there, sometimes they need Jesus to take the wheel, and that's what we're about to do right here.
Oh wait, can I say one thing before you do this? I wanted to say it's been a long run for me, and it's been tough, and I didn't know what to do.
Oh my God!
Certain moments.
Something.
Tell
me you made an intro.
I wish I did. You're right. Not enough time for that, but I am finally over Spencer Steer. I traded him in Robbie and I's league today, but that's not the only one, Robbie. I cleaned house last night. I dropped him in my main event. I dropped him in 2 other head-to-head Yahoo leagues. I finally said, there are other guys right now. I need to win now. In Spencer Steer, I can't wait any longer for this. And I'm happy to take Josh Lowe in that trade. Josh Lowe for Spencer Steer. I think Josh Lowe's a great buy low right now. Give it to me.
What was the financial difference in that one?
He's on a 4. He's on a 4th, and Steer's on a 3rd. So it was only 1 year difference.
Yeah, negligible as far as salaries as well, because Steer's an escalator. So okay.
So I love Spencer Steer so much, but it's really been now a year and a half at least since we've seen what we originally saw from him after he got traded from the Twins to the Reds. That was back in 23, man. Time's moving on. And I hate to say it, but I've moved on from Spencer Steer in Dynasty and redraft. Goodbye.
Well, as he goes away, Ohtani comes back. And with Jesus take the wheel pick, I normally would say, you take Ohtani. No, I wouldn't. You can't, because he doesn't count, because everybody has him everywhere, and he wins you leagues. And last night in my head-to-head league, Sunday night game. I love this in head-to-head. Sunday night game, you can taunt your opponent and say, hey, you know how you're up by 2 categories right now? Well, Ohtani's playing tonight. So last night, a bottom of the 9th, San Francisco, Helio Ramos strikeout after Ohtani's big game with 2 runs and whatever, tied our match. So the opponent had Ramos, and he was cursing, saying, all I had to do was take him out of the lineup, and I would have beat you. And I said, well, but you didn't have that option because the lineup was locked already for the day. So anyway, Ohtani now can become potentially the Monday killer, whereas when he used to start once a week, he'd start on Sundays. He was the Sunday killer for me in many leagues, where I would be behind and then it would be Ohtani time. So, but he doesn't qualify under Jesus Take the Wheel pick because he is 200% owned in each and every league, as he should be. We're going to recap. May 26th pick was Shane Smith of the White Sox. He had 1 win, 6 innings pitched, 4 Ks, 2 walks, an earned run. 1 win, 5 1/3 innings pitched, 2 walks, 6 Ks, and a start that wasn't so great. 3 2/3 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, 5 walks, 5 Ks. But his total, everybody, 15 innings pitched, 15 Ks, 2 wins, a 2.40 ERA, and 9 walks. So we're calling that a Jesus Take the Wheel win. Mitch Smith was who I picked last week because we had taken a week off in between. And he went up against the Angels, 5 innings pitched, no earned runs, 4 Ks. Tonight, he's taking on Houston, and I don't know if this was the McCullers pick that now is scratched or if McCullers was tomorrow, but ideally, it's a planned pitch night, so they got to scout against him so that Spence can do well tonight. But everybody really wants to know, Robbie, who's next. I'll tell you, San Diego, we're going to Stephen Kolek. He's going to take on the Dodgers on Wednesday, which is not ideal, but we've had other pitchers take on the Dodgers and do well. He's then going to go to Washington and then Cincinnati the following week. Next week should be a 2-start week for him. He's 34% rostered on Fantrax. So in your dynasty leagues where more heavily rostered or heavy dynasty is, he'll be a little bit harder to acquire, but could certainly still be acquired. And he's 11% on Yahoo. So he's probably out there in any of your, 16 team and smaller leagues, something like that. He's been rolling without the results. Last 3 starts, 15 2/3 innings, 0-1, but a 2.30 ERA. And strikeouts is not his thing. He'll definitely be more of a points league darling for you. And potential wins against Washington and Cincinnati line it up pretty well. So there you go. There's the roundup on Jesus Take the Wheel. And I don't know if we want to do some ads or if we want to get right into the main topic tonight here at 32 minutes and 30 seconds. I'll take the silence as a cue to continue.
Sweet dreams you can't resist. N-E-S-T-L-E-S. A dream as sweet as this. N-E-S-T-L-E-S. Creamy white. Dreamy white. Nestle makes the very best. N-E-S-T-L-E-S. Sweet dreams you can't resist.
That's right, everybody.
Yeah.
Govier needed some quiet time while he cued the ad.
But I do want to address here that what Chad put up on the Gage Wood. Did you guys see that?
No. A no-no's a no-no, especially in the World Series. 3rd ever, I heard.
Damn near had a perfect game. He only plunked someone. That's the only person that got on base. He faced 28 hitters, hit 1 batter, struck out 19, including striking out the side in the 9th inning. So
incredible.
That's really impressive. I don't know that he earned upwards of $5 million. However, I think he's still firmly like about the 8th college pitcher that's going to come off the board. And a lot of the guys ahead of him have been doing very well in Omaha as well. But certainly this is going to certify him going in probably the top half of the first round rather than the back half of the first round.
Unless everybody gets stupid with high schoolers again. And that's when the pitchers like this fall back to the good teams and it just cycles. That's why the bad teams stay bad.
See, this is a performance that could happen or could turn into something like a Cade Horton thing, where if you're willing to take a bit of a haircut at the number 4 or number 6 pick, then I'm going to take it. So and that might be what he ends up doing. So, but Wood was projected the last pipeline and the last BA mock drafts both had him in the 20s in their drafts. So the back half of the first round.
I had not seen him.
Oh,
Okay.
well, we got
he's been climbing up fast because of how he's been pitching late in the year. So.
Wow, dude.
We got our mock draft coming up next week, folks. We're very excited. We do this every year. It's all started originally. It was Phil and Ben, and now it's Robbie and Ben talking first round. We do the entire first round and then maybe pepper in a couple rando comp picks or whatever at the end, right?
Like the further back we get, the more interesting it gets. So
yeah,
I'm curious how we should. I'm sure it exists within our spreadsheet system here, where we could look and see just how much volatility there was within it. But I know last year there was a lot of youth going off as well. So, but anyway, after they get drafted, once they're drafted, they sign, they play, and then they get promoted, and then they get fantasy promoted, which is what we're doing tonight here, because we're picking our NL Central dream lineup of prospects from those 5 teams, as well as the AL Central. But we're going to start with.
Well, I want to shout out Eddie here, of course, as we start.
I wondered where he was in the chat here. He's taking the night off.
No, he's been here the whole time for the last weeks. He has a problem where he lost his laptop, died or something, and he doesn't know how to get back into the YouTube chat on his tablet. So he's commenting on the Discord while he's watching us right now. So, hi, Eddie. Hey, buddy. So this is his commentary over there, talking about how he picked up Reed Detmers for $1, and he's excited about it.
The autocorrect just friggin' blew me away. That was awesome.
So it's so funny. Eddie is here. He's never left.
Well, hello,
he's
Eddie.
over the Discord now.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's in your...
First time we've ever had somebody who's chatting live with us on the Discord while watching the show, because they can't access the YouTube chat. We love you, Eddie. We're thinking about you, buddy, and we'll keep reading your comments over there as we can move into the NL Central Dream Prospect lineup.
Yeah. So
which starts with catcher, your favorite position.
I was going to say, I'll kick us off because it's catchers, guys. So there are so many options. It's unfortunate. But the Central has talent. So we've got Jefferson Kiro with Milwaukee. Oh, my goodness. That's a name there. Huh? Rainiel Rodriguez with St. Louis. Moises Ballesteros with the Cubs, who's already had a little tea sandwich up this year. Leonardo Bernal with St. Louis. Jimmy Crooks with St. Louis. He should get up. If it was the 80s, he'd be up already based on his name alone. Marco Dinges. I mean, if you could get an R in there, if he could be Dingers. He's with Milwaukee. Alfred Dunno how to say it, but he's with Cincinnati. And then Omar Alfonso with Pittsburgh, who for me is my honorable mention. I think you already had him on the list though, Ben. But, power and youth, but we got to see how this plays out. So
he's a pop-up guy, which is why I even put him on the list, because really St. Louis has a hell of a catcher system right now. Crooks is in AAA. Bernal is a switch hitter with power, average, and a really, really good defensive skills. And he's in AA. And then they've got Rainiel Rodriguez in low A. This is a hell of a system for catchers. That's maybe 3 top 15 catchers in all of baseball as far as prospect catchers. I see you had put down Ballesteros.
That's my pick.
That's your pick. I was between him and Caro, and I struggle with that. The only thing, I think if we had another month of Caro, I think that decision gets made, because we're going to see how he's back. Right now he's hitting like he's just on fire right now, but what happens when he gets the next time through the league? Also, one of the things I really like with Caro right now, he is in AAA. He is 22, missed an entire season basically, and he is back up and in AAA. To me, that's pretty darn impressive, and by far a better defender than Ballesteros. But we've got to see where the bat is.
There you go. You're out of the tunnel, Ben. You were speaking
I don't know
into
why that was
a
happening.
mic
That was
for a
weird.
moment there. But yes,
Yeah, it
your
was just
point to Caro just
weird.
being very good despite missing time. And
All right,
Ballesteros
so
did
this is way too much time on catchers.
Ballesteros who did come up. He struggled, but that's going to be a thing that we're just going to see moving forward, I think, because the days of the guys coming up and catching fire because they're getting fastballs out the gate, I feel like the advanced scouting's too good. They're not doing that anymore. These guys are going to have to be able to be good OBP guys more so than good average guys out the gate. So Ballesteros, although he came up and did not succeed and then was demoted, he's my pick. You're taking Caro, so make your choice, Govier.
Since you're such an anti-catcher guy and you're so excited, gotta go Ballesteros. Sorry, wow. But I do think Cuero might actually be better. But I'm gonna go Ballesteros just because you're so pumped about a catcher. It's rare air for Robbie Baseball here on the Pallazzo podcast.
It was Ben helping to sell him to me in the offseason where I was like, okay, I did end up making a trade for him where I traded Zahir Hope and something else, and Ballesteros came back and two other dudes. So, all right, let's move on to first base.
First base, I think this one is unfortunately clear, but there's some good names to mention at least.
Yeah. Blake Burke from Milwaukee, Cam Collier with Cincinnati, Jonathan Long with the Cubs, Eric Bitonti with Milwaukee, Luke Adams with Milwaukee, and then Josh Cross with St. Louis.
Yeah.
Outside of Burke, Ben, what do you like about anybody else here worthy of mention?
Collier and Long are both hitting, but they're both like 6 foot tall guys trying to play first base. And it's just a personal preference. I don't think that works the way you want it to work once you get up to the major leagues. You want that guy that can stretch out and save your defense a little bit playing first base for you.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, Govier, Long's line is insane. Like he looks so good, but it's to Ben's point, it's the position.
He's like 5'10", 5'11", and playing first base, and that's just right, no less. I mean, he's also a right-handed hitter. That I believe that he's right-handed and right-handed hitting, which is a bad combination when you're playing first base to have if you're not left-handed, you have to be a hell of a hitter to make that work. So
so it'll be interesting to see. Is this his first year at AAA, or no? He was promoted end of year.
Yep.
Oh no, this is his first. This is his first year in AAA. Yeah, so he's. I mean, credit to him for coming out the gate strong and 9th round pick in 23. But no, we don't give him the credit. So is it Burke? Are we in agreement on this, Ben? Yeah.
What about Tyler Black? Just kidding. We're moving on. Moving on.
That was good, Ben. I like it.
Chad says Edward Florentino deserves mention. He's a better first base option for the Pirates. Okay, there you go.
Okay,
you guys contribute when you want on each position.
I've seen so many failed Pirates. It's hard to I mean, I did pick Pirates as we go on. I've just seen so many of them not be able to get themselves all the way up. That I think it's just hard. I am gonna. Well, all right, I'll just start selling them right now. Second base, Jefferson Rojas with the Cubs. Josh,
Adam Zuski,
just the same way I was gonna say it with Milwaukee. James Triatos with the Cubs. Anthony Siegler with Milwaukee. Deuce Grosson. Oh man, get him up.
What a great name.
Up. And then Kiner Delgado with Pittsburgh, who I added. He could be argued at shortstop, but I think the playing time this year has been second base. Wherever it was, I read it said second base. And Delgado's been good. He was once a not highly, whatever. He was promoted through the Yankees as a J2 guy a while ago. So he's kind of my throw in here because I wasn't overly sold on anyone else. But Ben, you've got Rojas as your boy.
Yeah. And Rojas has been excellent. The issue for me with Delgado is he walks a ton, but he's also he's kind of turned into a passive guy where
he's not slapping average.
It's 251, it's 61 strikeouts in 247 appearances, so you're getting almost to that 30% strikeout rate because he watches so many balls go by, and he's 5'7" and maybe 150 pounds dripping wet. So I think know
that's without his cleats on. I think without so he is
cleats
a little
add another
taller.
3 pounds. Is that what you're trying to?
And inches as well.
Boy.
I think he could be. I don't know if he's a coach him up guy because, as I just mentioned, Pittsburgh does not seem to have the ability to do that. But since he moved over, he's kind of faded out of the likeness of everyone. But Pittsburgh does bring guys through the system and give them an opportunity more often than not. So maybe we'll see him as a more of a flyer. But Rojas,
Rojas has moved up to high A, or actually stayed at high A this year. He repeated it after he had some struggles last year, and he's really cleaned up those struggles. He's walking at a higher rate, almost a 400 on base all year long. One of the minor league leaders in triples all year long. Just a lot of good things. Plus, there's a lot of people who are really impressed with his defense. So he's playing second and short, and just a hair more second. So,
all right. Well, he gets the nod then. Govier, did you have anybody fun and exciting to add?
Nope. You guys
This
nailed
isn't
it.
a great position. It's not. It's not like shortstop. Shortstop, we got names to talk about. So, do you want to do shortstop, Govier, or do you want us to jump to third?
We got to go third.
us
Then we
last
go to
time.
shortstop. We're going to third base, so we can talk
Which
about
is-
Sal Stewart.
in my opinion, this is the weakest position as far as depth in the NL Central. I put 3 guys on there, and the third one is really pushing it to me. So
I was
have
going to
Sal
argue
Stewart.
that Jonathan Long could potentially do it just because on MLB.com
played
he's
some.
listed as both, but I didn't
Yeah.
want to get into that just for the sake of putting him there.
But Sal Stewart from Cincinnati is the guy I've got at the top here. Then Brock Wilken from Milwaukee, big power guy, but not a
your
whole lot
buddy.
else. And then Cesar Prieto with St. Louis. He came over from Baltimore originally, and really good utility guy, but he's played more third than anywhere else, so that's where he fits. And he's had a solid year, but I wouldn't argue very hard for him as being the top guy.
Where are you guys putting Thomas Sagisi in all this? You didn't mention him in second. I didn't hear his name mentioned.
He's
a shortstop?
Yeah.
You're calling him? Okay. Doesn't look like he's going to last there.
That's where he's played the most.
All right. Just check.
But
He's about to be spoken of.
Well,
Yeah.
if it's a weak position, Robbie, any bottom line, third base, who you got?
I'm fine with Stewart. Like I didn't honestly even pick a guy for this one because I just I wanted to find someone to promote. And as I was going through, I was even looking at like who's in A ball, who did they draft in the 8th round in 22, 3? Like who are the guys who could be of like a rise that yet to be mentioned? They're just not there.
no,
Like, they haven't moved over yet, I guess is what I should
Yeah,
say.
I think
They're in the
that's-
organizations. They just haven't moved to third.
Oh,
we're about to talk about probably a bunch of those guys, but they're just still playing shortstop. And that's the whole thing is there's probably better guys at third base right now, but that will be third baseman in long term, but right now they're just not there. So Sal Stewart, I think, is your guy.
Stewart's the boy.
Sal Stewart.
The man.
Let's go shortstop.
Shortstop, we got a long list. JJ Weatherholt has hit very well when he's healthy. Luis Pena has been a stud in Carolina this year for Milwaukee. Jesus Mate was everybody's favorite prospect coming into the year. And
There it is.
he's not fallen on his face. He's just not been holy crap in A-ball. Cooper Pratt is in Double-A for Milwaukee. And Tyson Lewis, personal favorite because he's a corn-fed upper Midwest guy with Cincinnati, and he is playing shortstop right now. Then Thomas Sagasi with St. Louis, and in Edwin Arroyo with the Reds, Sammy Stafura with the Reds, Christian Hernandez with the Cubs, Wyatt Sanford with Pittsburgh, Yaro Padilla, who was everybody's favorite player coming out of the DSL last year, and he hasn't fallen on his face, but might have fallen on his hands. But Javier Rivas of the Pirates, if you have that stumble forward, some people stumble forward and aren't smart enough to put up their hands, they fall right on their face. He's, I think, at least fallen on his hands. But anyway.
Yeah, so you've got Weatherholt. That's your pick? Or are
That's
you
who I put
wavering?
up there.
Okay.
This is honestly you, and I see you selected Sagasi.
Yeah.
I think any one of those top 6, you're doing okay, and that's or top five.
certainly.
Yeah, six. I think you're doing okay with any of that group, which is really this is an impressive position group, and we're about to talk about a really not impressive position group when we get into the outfield.
Yes.
So, so this is kind of nice that I think you can kind of pick any one of these guys. I won't argue too hard against Saggese. I think Weatherholt and Saggese are both going to likely be better second basemen in the majors than they are shortstops.
Okay.
Whereas I think the Milwaukee guys, at least Pena and Pratt, are probably shortstops. Made is, I think he is a growth spurt away from being a third baseman. And I think Lewis probably ends up in center field.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think I would go with Thomas Saggese. I'd be okay with that. I don't have an issue with that.
Let's do it. Not that we don't like any of the others, but we only get to pick one as the starter. So Saggese it is. And we do not take, just for anyone thinking, well, now you can move so-and-so to this position.
Nope.
No, sir, we don't play that. So now we go to the outfield. And for anyone unfamiliar with how this will roll, we will pick 3 outfielders. We agree on the top 2, Connor Griffin with Pirates, who, as Ben has in the notes here, he has been infielding more so than outfielding so far this year, but as a drafted player.
He's taking a lot of balls in the outfield during pregame. Like they want him to play center field. He's really learning center field right now. But
yeah,
he grew up a shortstop, so right now that's kind of an easy transition for him. But yeah.
And Mookie Betts, so we don't really know, but we're putting him out here. You know, Mookie Betts comp as far as moving positions around, not as players. But Connor Griffin, who's having an excellent year, he's our first choice, whether you want to call him the top one or just one of 3. Owen Casis, I'm okay with. It's just something with how Cubs don't make it happen, I guess, with these guys.
Why on earth has Owen Casey not gotten at bats in the major league level yet? That's really what I mean.
What
is he not doing in AAA?
Oh, you know what? I guess. Oh, never mind. I'll wait till we get to, I don't even want to say the name yet. I'll wait. I take it all back. Mute me.
Oh no!
I don't want to spill any beans before my time. I got to wait till we do the West. But I guess if that's 2 weeks away. To your point about why is he not getting at bats? Why does Houston promote the minor league home run leader and then not play the guy? Right, Shea Whitcomb having a monster power year with Houston, and I hate Houston for this purpose. Goes back to Jose Siri years and years ago. You bring these guys, Cooper Hummel's one as well, I believe. You bring these guys up, you play these guys. You don't waste them away on your bench. That's why you promoted them, was the reward of their playing time at AAA. They don't become your bench players. Don't bring those guys up. Bring the guys up who you DFA afterwards, because it just seems like you take them out of their AAA rhythm. And, you know, with Cases, let's see what happens. But I hate
Dalton Rushing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Rushing, I think he had 1 hit or something. I saw his average jump like 70 points last night.
Yeah, but he doesn't even play in the outfield. They said that, you know, he could get an occasional start out there
last night, I believe, right?
That's just more. There's a lot of this. Like we said, there's a hitter overload. Too many damn hitters, not enough opportunities.
Yeah. So now here's the third. Here's a real conversation. Who's the third guy that we're going to put in? We've got St. Louis, Joshua Baez, Nathan Church with St. Louis, Braylon Payne with Milwaukee, Hector Rodriguez, Cincinnati, Will Taylor, Pittsburgh, Chase Davis, St. Louis. So if you're going off of names you recognize so far, Davis is the one. Carter Trice with the Cubs, Mike Bovee with Milwaukee, Adolfo Sanchez with Cincinnati. You keep dreaming. Oh, is he from Michigan? Oh, let's talk about a Michigan guy. Adolfo Sanchez is, I think he's a J2 guy that got some money, right? I feel like that's Sanchez.
Yeah, probably.
Ian Petrus with St. Louis, and then Esmerlin Valdez with Pittsburgh, who I think I put him as my choice because he is young and doing power. I believe that was why I picked him.
And see, I put Baez there as much for a talking point as anything, because this is a guy who had holy crap hype when he was drafted in 21 in the second round, and everyone said, oh my gosh, this kid walking in with 6'3" and looks like he could play linebacker, and he's fast as all get out. This guy's going to just be a stud. Well, Yeah, he's a hell of an athlete, but it took time for him to develop as a baseball player. And now he is up to AA this year. He's 22, not terribly old for AA. And he's been hitting. I mean, 7 home runs, 24 steals, 306, 396, 500 slash line. You know, very solid all-around player. Probably, I mean, he's got a great arm, but probably short on defensive chops to play center field. I would say he's probably a right fielder, but should be a really good one. But it's just one of those. He started off. He had some rough times in low A and in high A, and that's just what happens. So, you know, let's. Now, I don't have an issue with Esmerlin. Definitely has been putting up the numbers this year. That's and I looked at him up too because I had him on here.
Here, I'll pop him through just baseball reference very quickly. I was just making sure that Chase Davis is in fact not doing well, as I had initially said. Yeah, and he is not. But in high A, 21-year-olds, Ermeslin Valdez is hitting 310, 396 with a 987 OPS, 16 home runs. So that is why he gets the nod from me now. High A at 21, you are technically young for the age, but also in a position to move on. However, last year he played all year at A ball and did not do well in the average. This year he's 90 or 85 points higher. So great.
Had power last year too. So obviously,
thank you, Ben. Yeah,
he knows how to
22
access
home
the
runs.
power. My only concern there, and looking at him, that's why I was like, I had a note on him that why I had him lower down.
The
He's
mustache?
really not a good athlete. He's really not a good athlete, and I think he's probably a first baseman DH long term. But yeah, on offensive skills alone, he should be much higher up on this list. So that's kind of where I was at. Just kind of, I mean, Church and Baez have both had really solid years, and they're definite outfielders. There's a whole clump of guys then after that these guys had some prospect type or some whatever for a bit. I mean, your Adolfo Sanchez was a huge J2 guy. And, you know, Will Taylor, I think, is a year removed from being drafted fairly high out of Clemson, or maybe 2 years. Braylon Payne was everybody's darling coming into the year from Milwaukee. So, you know, yeah, I'm fine with Esmeralda Valdez here. I don't think that's I don't know that there's really a whole lot of difference here for this third outfield spot. I think it's pretty easily Griffin and Casey, and then you're just kind of throwing stuff against the wall as far as your third outfielder. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, there isn't necessarily like a clear-cut 3-4 situation here. So let's leave it with Baez with St. Louis, and we'll move on to the rotation because we have many names to discuss here. So I think we're in agreement on the top 3: Chase Burns, Jacob Mizrowski, and Bubba Chandler. Horton's absence to me doesn't negate his skill set, but I do think it opens the door for others. I will just say Carlos Rodriguez I'm not done with, so I did pick him almost as an honorable mention. I do have an actual honorable mention, but I'm also going with Thomas Harrington, who I see Uncle Ted is back in the YouTube chat. Thank F for that. But he mentioned that he's heating back up or catching fire or something with emojis. And my emoji is a swollen heart over Thomas Harrington, because I've seen him dealt in some dynasty leagues since his appearance and demotion. And one of them, the guy that traded, is a serial trader. It's Minnesota, Govier, in our 30-team points league. He just makes deals and deals and deals. And as soon as he gets a guy, I can't get him from him, but he very quickly deals him to somebody else. And it's not that he doesn't like me. It's that I think there's like the commissioner price that I have to pay that I never step up to. But Harrington was a guy that, you know, everybody was talking very highly of pre-debut. And it's almost one of those like recoils like we've seen with other highly touted prospects where they came up, they weren't able to do the thing they're elite at, which is control and keeping hitters off balance and all those.
He struck out 10 in his last outing.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, well, we don't want to talk about him anymore.
So Harrington's been okay this month so far, but if you do that, you also take out the fact that his last start of May, the 28th of May, he went 3 2/3, gave up 9 runs, and only struck out 2. So he has the thing I struggle with Harrington is he just has that. He has the ability to drop a clunker quite a bit. His stuff is not. He doesn't have anything that's holy crap amazing, and so when he gets into a spot where a teams have kind of got him figured out, he can get hit hard and get hit hard fast.
Ian Seymour got a win, and then went back to the minors. So anything's possible. This
list is fun just because you see the depth of a couple of organizations in particular. The Pirates,
sorry, Ben. Let me just say the name since I didn't do it. So we agreed on Burns, Mizrowski, Chandler. Horton is now injured.
We'll discuss.
Yeah. So Hunter Barco with Pittsburgh, Logan Henderson, Milwaukee, Chase Petty with Cincinnati, who, oh man, he is Jackson Wiggins with the Cubs, Takeo Roby with St. Louis, Carlos Rodriguez with Milwaukee, Quinn Matthews with St. Louis, Manuel Rodriguez with Milwaukee, Tink Hence with St. Louis. Remember that with Tink Hence. Ty Floyd with Cincinnati, Thomas Harrington previously mentioned with Pittsburgh, Adam Serwinkowski nailed it with Cincinnati, Bishop Letson with Milwaukee, Luke Holman, I remember him from the draft with Cincinnati, Che Win Lin with St. Louis. That's the project. That should be his nickname. There's the password, and he should be the project.
The project, yeah.
Wow,
Coleman
dude.
Crowe with Milwaukee, Ryan Gallagher with the Cubs, Casey Hunt with Milwaukee, Bryson Mouts with St. Louis, Tyson Harden with Milwaukee, and I added Tyler Renz with Milwaukee, who was their 18th round pick, who I just look for these guys and then I'll just keep mentioning their names. And he has not pitched much, but what he has done so far has been interesting for a high schooler 18th round pick in the complex league. I'm guessing it said something about like there were many names and letters beside, or sorry, many numbers and letters beside.
Hunter Barco. No Hunter Barco love? Come on,
no,
man.
He was the first one mentioned.
Yeah, he's the
God. You mentioned so many names, I zoned out.
Yeah.
But that's the problem. That there's just a lot here.
But you really see a lot of the what you don't see are very many Cubs. That's one thing. They don't develop pitching all that well. You see a whole lot of Milwaukee, a whole lot of Pittsburgh, and a whole lot of St. Louis in here. Now, I don't know that I truly trust any of the St. Louis pitchers as that other guy, but they have a whole lot of guys who are right on the cusp. Takeo Roby has finally taken that step in AA and has now earned his way up to AAA. He kind of sat at AA for about 3 years, but has finally taken that step now. Tink Hence, never on the field to be good. Quinn Matthews has really taken a big step backwards this year after having a huge year last year. He's struggling some this year. But yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot of argument. I mean, look up what Jackson Wiggins has been doing for Chicago.
Oh, there it is. Yep.
I don't have an issue with saying that he might have a really good argument over Cade Horton as the best pitcher in the Cubs system.
A lot of hype lately. A lot of Wiggins talk lately. I've been seeing it. Yeah.
He is. Well, and last year he was hurt and he was coming back from being hurt. This is a guy when he was drafted was supposed to be kind of all that in a bag of potato chips, but got hurt. And so therefore it couldn't.
Man. I love it. Keep talking. Bag of potato.
You want potato chips? You want some chips?
No, I'm actually enjoying for Father's Day, guys. Happy belated Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day, man. Not me. I don't have kids.
Children.
So. Right. Well, we don't talk about that, but thank you.
My son got me this thing of Reese's.
Oh, that sucks. I tried it. It was bogus.
I'm just having it right now. I just had a bite and I stopped. If that's any indication of a, It's a mixed bag. So there's the regular, there's some other one, and then there's this. So I don't know that I'll eat many of those ones, but it's a nice
PB&J. It's supposed to be like a PB&J. Does it taste like it?
Maybe that's the way. Well, no, maybe that's what I need to think in my head about it.
Yes,
If
definitely
we didn't
do
have
that.
so much
It'll
to
help.
do, I would happily continue off topic with food talk. But
Yeah.
so do we want to agree
Chase Burns
on
is good.
Horton, or
Yes.
do you want? Why don't we be fun and say Horton's out? We don't need to worry about him for 18 months in conversation. Jackson Wiggins will be the guy, and then who do you want for like an SP5?
See,
Keep
and
alluding to
that's-
him like he's injured. By the way, the audience is gonna freak out. Horton is not injured, folks. Just for the record, okay?
I really like, pick your Milwaukee guy there, Henderson or Rodriguez. I mean,
Ooh.
Hunter Barco has had a hell of a year. And that's a guy with a lot of pedigree, but I mean, Carlos Rodriguez was really doing it in the minors. Unfortunately, he just hasn't taken that to the major leagues. He forgets how to put the ball in the
come
zone.
up with the same success. I don't know if his approach has changed. Like I have not gone into that part of it. And also Horton, like technically speaking, won't be a rookie much longer. Just he's at 36 innings, 7 starts, whatever the hell it is.
All right, so who's in on the bottom line?
Yeah.
Who's the last guy? We got 4, right?
So you said Roby took a step forward. Let's put him on there. Let's have a Cardinal in there. And then do you want to join my cult with Rodriguez, Carlos Rodriguez, or do you want to go with Barco?
Rodriguez is a guy I know pretty well. Last year, I did a lot of investigation. I loved him. I don't think he's as great as we would hope him to be, Robbie. I'm so sorry. We got to go someone
I know
else.
what's coming.
I'm going to pull a veto
coming
here.
in your next trade offer to you. I know who.
Hey, I got Hunter Barco in that league. There's hope for me.
Okay. So do
Who's
you want to
five?
go
Who is
Robbie Barco? Let's do that.
Yeah, that'd work.
Wow. Barco
Right.
sneaks in. Woo! All right, there it is. We did the NL East Ultimate Prospect lineup.
Yeah.
Nope, just kidding. NL Central.
NL Central. Let's
I
move straight.
misspoke.
Move straight to the AL since we are 60-ish.
Yeah, we're an hour. Yeah, we're over an hour in. Britton wants to let you know though he doesn't go a day without eating Reese's products of some type. He loves.
I
it.
hope
It's
someday we
delicious.
get to share them together in the same company.
Yeah, I would love that. A ball game and Reese's. All right, it'll be melting in the hot sun in your hands. It'll be great.
Naked Gun trailer's out.
Yes, I was just thinking that earlier, Robbie. We're
Naked
close.
Gun
We're
trailer's out.
just under 2 months till release. I'm still holding you to it. I'm planning to go see it with you.
Yeah. Hopefully
I'm really excited about Spaceballs too. But
that's in 2027.
They're really doing Spaceballs too?
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
They're
this
releasing
will.
cast and- This
I'm
is
glad to
Cinema
know that,
10
but this will
stuff,
derail.
not Cinema 9. This is Cinema 10.
Cinema 10, you're right. All right. AL Central, home of my guys, the Detroit Tigers.
Go Tigers.
I know they're going to be involved in some of these positions. In fact, one of them are on the cover today, are 2 cover athletes. On the right side for the NL Central, he definitely made the list. That was Chase Burns. Now we'll find out if this Detroit Tiger will make the cut on this ultimate AL Central lineup of prospects. So let's start with catcher. Right off the bat, is there a catcher that stands out? Does Kyle Teal still count? Because that's my vote.
Well, technically he would, and that I guess I realized afterwards that he is not on there. He is still a prospect. He is in the majors now, but he definitely would qualify. Edgar Guerrero has passed that point.
We could go in a different direction because Teal's going to lose that status. We all agree he'll lose that status, so that's fine.
But I mean that he is a guy that we're going to get to talking about some people in these positions. That's a big issue because I think in multiple positions here, the best guy is a major leaguer.
Right.
So that's like that is still a prospect. So we have quite a list. This is again another deep position. Interestingly enough, multiple Tigers that we're talking about and multiple Royals. So if you're a Tiger or a Royals catcher, we're probably talking about you. Blake Mitchell is
Go Tigers.
from the Royals. Cooper Ingle with Cleveland. Carter Jensen with the Royals. Ramon Ramirez with the Royals. Jose Baseño, it's easy for you to say, with the Tigers. Byron Lorenzo with the Tigers. Kadeem Dia, which, by the way, if you don't know who that is with the Twins, look him up. That's an up-and-comer guy. And then Eduardo Valencia with the Tigers.
Hey,
There isn't a holy crap guy here, but there's a lot of guys who I think have a chance to be a major leaguer. that's a really impressive group, which doesn't help us a ton in fantasy if they're just making it to the majors as a backup catcher. But
Right.
at least they can make the major leaguers or make the major leagues. Holy crap! If I could talk.
Hey,
Potato
we got
chips.
your back here, Ben. So who do you like
Hey,
here,
I'm the
Robbie,
guy who
catcher?
screws the names up here, Ben. Okay, knock it off.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Don't take his shtick. That's Robbie's shtick.
I need to stay in my lane. Really,
So Robbie's
to me, I thought, as far as pure talent, Mitchell and Engel are kind of ahead of the group on this, as far as combination of defensive and offensive ability. But man, Briseño has just done nothing but hit, and that's been really stinking impressive to watch. Now he is splitting time almost even between catcher and first base with some DH sprinkled in there too. I have no belief that he is going to be a catcher long term. But then again, I really didn't with Hunter Goodman either. And where are we at right now? So, in the right situation, a guy like that who can handle the position could play catcher for quite a while, or at least for a season, which gets you fantasy eligibility. And that's all you really need.
That's right. We're talking Evan Gaddis.
Yeah,
ideas
there you
here,
go.
Right, guys?
There you go.
So that's all you need.
He's going
Robbie,
to lead the
who you got
league
out
with
there?
11 turns someday. So
wow. Who you got a catcher, Robbie?
I've got Lorenzo. He's in Double-A right now. The numbers are all down this year, but that's because it's his first time in Double-A. And post-trade to the Dodgers last year, more and more people started to get excited about him. And now Erie is a spot where Detroit has been able to do a good job. Like they're definitely beating the piss out of some teams because they had a lot of guys. I think 3 of the top 5 guys in runs in the Eastern League are all Seawolves. And Lorenzo was not amongst that, but he's also there learning to catch better, which is something Bennett talked about last year, doing a better job framing and not letting, stealing strikes is what he should do. So he is my pick as the project to get up there.
Awesome.
But certainly understand Blake Mitchell being the kind of reasonable premium pick to put to be in our lineup. So I'll take a loss, but mention Lorenzo.
There
you did it. You did it. All right, first base.
Nailed it.
Jack Caglianone is up in the majors, so we'll just skip him because he's already going to be a major leaguer. He is a major leaguer. So who else we got at first base in the AL Central, guys? Aaron Sabato? Someone actually wrote down Aaron Sabato. That's hilarious.
I was so happy to see that Ben put it on.
Look at him this year, though. Look at him this year, though.
Back.
He's actually had a fairly solid year.
Signs of life?
Well, I don't know. It's 28 or something like that now.
He's 26. He just turned 26. So he's okay. Well, yeah, he's got some efforts this year. He's got 9 dogs. He's got 13% walk rate. He's hitting 280.
He just got promoted to AAA too. So
he did. There you go.
That's kind of what caught my eye and why I even looked him up. And I was like, oh, well, his numbers are actually halfway decent, which is very rare in this division at this position to find anyone who has decent numbers.
I agree. I like Kafis here.
CJ Kafis, to me, is the easy pick. Ralphie Velazquez has the talent, but hasn't kind of put it all together yet for Cleveland. I think he probably has the bigger upside, but Kafis is just doing it. I mean, he's hitting well and kind of that consistent
post-promotion. He just continued high average. The OBP, your walk to K rate went down a bit, but again, to be expected. Now you're taking on at AAA every version of starting pitcher and relief pitcher, right? You've got, you don't know who you're going to go up against any night, right? There's Max Scherzer pitching 4 innings the other night and potentially back in the blue, or not back, but officially in the Blue Jay rotation. So yeah, to me, Kafis is the guy.
It's really weak. You guys are right. Let's just go Kafis and lock it.
Yeah, we struggled with this last time.
Second base position, the other corner infield position is just about as bad, but but second base is actually very loaded in this. Second base. Well, shortstop's not so much, but second base has got a lot of really good options here. Travis Bazzana is who I've got first, and honestly, in large part due to his prospect pedigree, because The performance has not been better than some other guys. Luke Keeschel, mentioned only because he's technically still a prospect. He'll retain still being a prospect going into next year. We're going to have to rank him as a prospect because he's not going to burn up his major league time. But he was up in the majors, and he was doing very well in the majors, and I don't think he would be a prospect still if that were to happen. Hyu Lee with Detroit is having a very solid season. Gerald Perez with the White Sox. Jose Salas, who I put him on here because he's played second base more than any other position, but he is legitimately a guy who's got like 15 games at 6 positions. It's kind of ridiculous the way he's been utility this year. Peyton Wilson has had a very big year in AA and AAA, I believe, or else high A and AA, but he got promoted mid-year. Max Anderson, who I see you have highlighted that you want to make sure we talk a little bit about.
Well, so I've highlighted and italicized his name.
Yeah.
He is my pick at this position.
He is your pick. Okay.
Yes, he is my pick. With Bazzana, the logical choice, as I agree with you on that. But Anderson is my fight for pick simply because he's just elite this year. His line is incredible.
Line is amazing. Yeah.
I want to see the summer promotion to see what we really have with Max Anderson. He was it 23? He was a second round pick. Or 20
sounds right.
23, 24. I can have a look here.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I was looking pre-show, I thought he is so much better than I thought. And typically with these Tiger guys, they, more recently, I should say, they've been drafting the high schoolers who have been doing well. Max Clark is one who we'll be mentioning. He was a 23 second rounder. Yeah. Okay. There we go. But yeah, like his line this year is 339, 380 OBP, which is telling you that he's hitting so much he doesn't need to walk too much, with a 958 OPS. But he also has 11 home runs in AA. So he was one of the run machines with here. 36 runs in 53 games. So I want to see him promoted. Is it Toledo? Is that Detroit?
Toledo Mudheads, baby. That's right. Yeah. I think Hyu Lee's the guy I like the most. I know Bazzana's the obvious number one choice, but I really love his profile, man. For fantasy, I think in 2 years, if he gets to play, that he will be a rock solid starter in fantasy, like a legit top 10 second baseman. I really believe that, and I'm sticking with it.
I'm gonna finish out our list because we got to Max Anderson and kind of paused. Kyle DeBarge was a really interesting pick for the Twins last year who has turned out. Jacob Gonzalez was a high-end pick for the White Sox who has not turned out. Sam Antonacci with the White Sox is a guy who's putting up a really nice line, and Javier Mogollon, I know I nailed all these names with the White Sox. The White Sox end up taking up the last 3 spots on this list that I put together. Guys that are putting up decent numbers, but I have zero expectation that they'll be able to continue that development as they get up the system. So that's unfortunately a White Sox prospect for you. But
yeah,
well, even within those White Sox at the very end, I had another White Sox here, Riku Nishida, who was I think like an 11th round pick a few years ago, and he was supposed to be, and I've been kind of watching him. Yeah, there you go, Uncle Ted. Samesies. Thinking about him as like a hit machine guy, but this year I think he's in AA. He's stabilized or like become like a 250 hitter. So unless he gets on a heater and then maintains it, he's not the high average Stephen Kwan type guy I thought he could potentially be. So I guess I put him under shortstop. Son of a bee sting. Anywho, let's just say I put him in at second base.
Shortstop. He's a second baseman. He's a second baseman outfield on Fangraphs, so you're good.
Well, let's see. He plays outfield is all he has. So,
he plays baseball, guys.
Yeah, all these guys play baseball. That's correct.
So I would like to say Max Anderson's my guy. Govier, you've said Hyu Lee, and Ben, are you Bazzana, or do you want to take one of these Tigers?
I think Bazzana is probably the top prospect. I think Max Anderson is probably having the best year. I think if you want to put it that, if you want to.
We're just deleting it and going with the lineup, and then we'll look again in a few months and see if we did anything right.
Yeah.
Let's go to third base, the hot corner, where it's chock full of action in the AL Central.
If you're a Minnesota
Twin. Right, if you're a Minnesota Twin.
That's pretty much the only division where I was like, oh, hey, that guy. Ooh, that guy.
Two Twins?
Everyone else, no. Isaac Pacheco is a guy who was a big-time draftee when he was, 2020, 2021, when he was originally drafted out of high school, and he fell flat on his face for a while. He's finally figured it out, and not only that, but he's really hitting well this year, and so I've been impressed. Billy Amick is the guy who I probably like the most on this list. He's with the Twins last year, or a draft pick last year. I thought they got a really good deal getting him in the second or third round. It was at least their third pick that they got him with. Tanner Schobel is a Twins guy who plays a number of different infield positions, but has played third the most. Sam Ruda with the Royals and Jay Thomason with the Twins are two other guys that have both had really good years. So, but yeah, and I agree. Montgomery probably should be playing third, but right now they haven't made that change, so we haven't. So that's
great job.
I think if you look at just pure stats, Pacheco's probably had the better year, but I think I really like Amick a lot more.
Yeah, outside of power lacking for Amick at the moment, he's got the rest of it. So I feel like, again, at high A now, he's been promoted this year. Let's see where he goes, but it is a pretty weak position. As we did mention, there's going to be some shortstop, second base guys that maybe slide over to fill these things out. So,
yeah, I'm good with Amick there.
Hey, all right, lock it in. Shortstop, AL Central. Here we go. Cover boys involved in this one.
Yeah,
will he get the job though?
There, and this has got some names. You've got Kevin McGonigal with Detroit, who, by the way, I just saw a prospect list come out recently, an updated prospect list after this particular person doesn't have anyone who's been in the majors on their list. He had McGonigal number 2 in all of baseball. I was like, ooh, lordy. And I thought I liked McGonigal. Colson Montgomery.
384. That's crazy right now.
Colson Montgomery with the White Sox. Keelan Culpepper with the Twins. Caleb Bonham, who was a draft pick last year with the White Sox. Eniel Hanoa with Cleveland. William Bergola with the White Sox, who I think is probably up by the end of this year, but maybe a good backup infielder. Welbin Francisca with Cleveland. Yandel Ricardo with the Royals. And then everyone's favorite underdog candidate last year, Peyton Eales of the Twins. And then Dari Fernandez is the guy that has kind of caught my attention this year, that is young and new and could be something with the Indians or Guardians. Oh, good Lord.
Wow, you're canceled.
I am canceled.
No, we don't do that anymore. Canceled's over. That was from that's so 2019, dude. You're living in the past.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was so nice back there.
Wow. So
Great job.
That list, there's a lot of guys who are more name than performance on that list. There's a few guys who are more performance than name on that list, more towards the back end of it. But I think if you go for the combination of performance this year plus prospect upside, you're talking McGonigal or Culpepper. But I don't. I'm a huge McGonigal fan, so I'm going to probably argue him all day long. But
Pepper.
So
yeah,
I like me some Culpepper here, and I think it's just he has been a fit since he was drafted. You know, last year he didn't come up and fall flat on his face when A-ball got promoted to high A at the end of the year. He's not repeating, but he's back there this year, sitting right around 300 total at bats, hitting 293 this year, taking a ton of walks, almost a 400 OBP, like upper 380s, but also power. And I think that is excellent. He's 22. He should move up to AA for the summer. Do we consider this now summer, guys? Is this, or do we need to officially
within a week? It's official. So I mean,
yeah.
You know.
Okay, so the third.
It's going to
week-
be 98 on Saturday here in the upper Midwest.
Woo!
like
I will
bass season
officially-
opens the fourth Friday in June. So that's when summer really kicks off, and that's first day of summer vacation here in Canada, in Ontario.
Yeah.
But anyway, Culpepper's my pick here because I just think he's going to have a hot boy
You
summer.
lose. It's McGonagall. He wins. Sorry, buddy. 2-1 outvoted. Oh.
But, no, I think
Michigan
it's
bias.
good to at least have that conversation. So,
Yeah, Michigan bias.
Michigan
Yeah.
bias for a guy who doesn't
And
live
you-
in
and you're
Michigan.
gonna-
That's right. Neither one of us
I was
live in
gonna say,
Michigan.
when I started going through,
You can see it.
when I
can't
started
see it.
going through Detroit, I was like, man, I think that they might have the best guy at this position, and then at this position, and then at this position.
Yeah.
And we're on to another one of those positions because they might have two of the three best outfielders.
Woo! Wow. Scott
Unfortunately,
Harris.
by the end of the year, I don't think that we're going to agree with that just because he'll be out of sight, out of mind. Max Clark is the first one. That one's I think kind of a no doubter.
Number one. Yep.
Number one with no problem. Bryce Rainier, I had second, but unfortunately, we've lost Bryce Rainier for the rest of the year. I think he was really doing some big time things. Was gonna kind of show us all that why he was kind of that right alongside Connor Griffin, and unfortunately, that ended. Walker Jenkins is finally coming back. I have him as the third outfielder primarily due to pedigree. But then Emmanuel Rodriguez with the Twins, another one. If he could stay on the field, probably easily this guy. Brandon Winokur is another really good one with the Twins. Gabriel Gonzalez.
Shout out to Mark Winokur. man.
Back, baby. He's back.
And he has had a very solid year.
Yeah.
Braden Montgomery has been everything you wanted Braden Montgomery to be this year, except he's been doing it in A-ball. That's my only thing with him, that if with the pedigree he has, that should really be a guy in Double-A. But, you know, Asbel Gonzalez, I think, has stolen 198 bases this year, except that Tommy Hawk stole 78 of them. So, I mean, you know, they're between the two of them, quite literally, I believe they do actually have 100 stolen bases between the two of them right now. If you combined Hawk and Gonzalez. Robert Arias with
If only there
Cleveland.
was a guy named Tua.
Yeah. Petey Halpin has kind of recovered the prospect pedigree that he had. So there's kind of two nice recovery stories here in Gabriel Gonzalez and Petey Halpin.
Halpin getting added to the 40-man seemed to have given him a real big boost.
Yeah. It really, I mean, he's not putting up holy crap numbers, but he's putting up very solid across the board numbers, playing a good center field. I mean, taking a nice solid step forward. That's really all you could ask out of it. This is a guy who everyone kind of thought was in the same vein as Pete Crow Armstrong. You know, that was the type of player they were both projected to be, very similar players, and Petey just kind of fell in his face. But he's coming back now. So Chad's boy, Jason Churio, with Cleveland. And Cleveland's got a bunch of outfielders here. Alfonso Rosario, Ryan Cesarini, and then, of course, Chase DeLauder has the pedigree, but we never seen him. And then Robbie added in Chris Rodriguez. I actually looked at him, and I did not put him quite in, but he's quite a bit had a solid year for sure that you could consider him.
Mention the name. People that are not in deep dynasty leagues, who are not big J2 guys, understand that he was Detroit's big acquisition. He is tall as can be, and people are quite interested in his development. George Woolco did not get, I said over for Britton saying Ohtani. However many batters he faces, he's going to have that many strikeouts. But Chris Rodriguez is going to be compared to like a project like George Woolco, who was picked by the White Sox 2 years ago now.
And Woolco's struggling this year, which is why I didn't.
Yeah, he doesn't look great. Yeah, he does not look great. I know Ted had mentioned him, but he looks like he's a project, right? Like that's what we're seeing from him. I think there's power, but the average is pretty low. So again, it's coaching, it's discipline for him, it's understanding what your strengths are. He's not a college guy coming through, Aaron Judge, clean up a few things on your way up. He is going to need time to develop. Rodriguez, same deal. So Clark, we're good with. I think Gabriel Gonzalez is worthy of this list because it's fun and exciting to see him come back. This is the best he's played since he was with Seattle. I think it was Everett was the team he was on. I don't remember if they were loaded or not, but he was like a top 100 type guy, 90, 115 type prospect on a lot of lists at that time. I'm going to say 22. Is that right? 22, something like that. And then post trade, he's not done well. But this year, 341 in Double A and 98 plate appearances, 85 at bats. No home runs there, but he did have 5 in Double A. So that's the thing we're waiting for. And again, he's 21 years old. So Uncle Ted, we're all heating up. It's almost summer. We just talked about it, right? Bat season opens the 4th Friday, right? That's what we were determining. Anyway, so I would say Gonzalez, and then I like Halpin, but I certainly understand Walker Jenkins is the pick everybody wants. And Emmanuel Rodriguez has overtaken Gonzalez for Twins, blah, blah, BS.
Yeah, I think I really would have no issue with Gonzalez being the number 2, and then you can have a really fun debate over Bryce Rainier, Walter Jenkins. If I could, geez,
you can do it. You can see it's because you took a couple of the names. That's what happened.
There we go. But
so did I miss his position change? Like I didn't know that. I didn't know that he moved the outfield. Rainier.
Yeah, he's been mostly center field. I'd have to pull it up to see how much.
Oh, I just didn't know. That's good to know in case the audience didn't know. Or maybe I'm the last man on earth to know this. I'll admit that freely.
Depending on the sites people frequent, it is hard to see when prospects have changed. Most of your fantasy sites will rarely update from when they're drafted until they get to upper minors. And then sometimes they'll just add a second position or they'll completely change it all. Yeah.
Okay.
Pertnier,
so the bottom line here, it's Pertnier's number. Bottom line, outfield, who is number 3?
Oh, they have him. I'll be darned. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. They have him listed as, or he has only played shortstop and DH this year. So,
okay, he's out.
I'm wrong.
He was never on. He was never on the list.
Shocked.
He never should have been on the list to begin with.
Okay. He wasn't. Right, so I don't know what.
I'm glad I brought it up.
About. Yeah. So I guess for me, probably the guys who should be competing here are probably Montgomery, Jenkins, and if you want, Petey Halpin is the third for the.
Yeah, I'm good to let him go.
Okay, but I mean Montgomery and Jenkins are probably your 2 highest pedigree guys. And Montgomery's having a solid season. It's just that he's doing it in the lower minors. So I would be good with Montgomery. We could.
I like Montgomery too, but I think most people would pick Jenkins.
Yeah.
Well, we are not most people, so smell you later, Jenkins.
Yeah.
So it's Emmett Clark, or sorry, it's Clark, Gonzalez, and Montgomery. Now let's move to the rotation. We are 90 plus minutes in, so we'll do this like I do my wife quickly. So starting pitchers, we agree on Hill with Minnesota. Noah Schultz with the White Sox. Charlie Soto having a professional career, as is Desan Hill with Minnesota. And then we've got conversations to have here. Now, Grant Taylor, I understand he's up. And is that why you put him as the last name, or did I add him? I don't know.
You added him. I did not have him because they've moved into the bullpen, and
so that's
they aren't moving.
We'll leave it off. Yeah, so, we'll leave it off. They're trying to prolong his professional career. But Hagen Smith to me is, despite struggles at the moment, similar to Noah Schultz. We don't need to see perfection all the time, but I guess if we're throwing together rotation, Smith would be off of it. So Connor, Prelip.
I can take arguments for Smith on his prospect pedigree and even on what he's shown. I mean, his stuff has been good. He just hasn't had any clue where the hell it's going. But Josh Hartle is a guy who was legit a potential top 5 pick last year and has come out. Obviously, getting picked by Cleveland really helps. He had a bad draft year and then got picked by Cleveland, and he has just been. I thought he was a really good number 3 lefty when he got drafted, and gosh, he's shown every bit of that so far. I really think he could be moving quickly. He hasn't yet, but I think he could be the type of guy that that next year ends up in the major leagues.
I mean, 6'5" lefty. Meow.
Wow, I was just gonna say, he really fits a Robbie profile here. You know?
He does. Now he doesn't have the K to 9, 55 and a third innings, 50 Ks at high A, but like the line is still excellent across the board.
Yeah.
Whip is under 1.2. He's seeing a lot of batters. ERA well under 3 at the moment, 2.77, and walks are 17. So that's okay. I'm good. I'm good with taking I was just about to say an Indian because you've ruined me, Ben. I was a Guardian. I'm good to take a Guardian here because if they don't trade him, it's a safe bet they continue to develop him well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
so are we keeping in Connor Prelip?
Yep, totally
who's
fine with
finally
that.
healthy. Okay, so then we can come back. We can look at ourselves and say we're stupid for not having Hagen Smith in, but that's okay. But that does mean you have 3 twins in the rotation.
That's crazy. What? Come on.
People who are talking. No, this is serious because I think there are 3 other guys that I had on there. I would have no problem arguing CJ Culpepper pretty strongly too for what he's done this year. The Twins have actually done a fairly solid job developing pitching. Your
Hammond
issue,
Detroit has in Double-A, so I don't know if they're getting run up. His numbers didn't look good.
Yeah.
Just as mentioned, and then Marco Rea, who anybody might at all be interested in.
Division is Detroit and Cleveland, and even Kansas City's pitching is good. It's hard to believe Minnesota's got the majority here.
Kansas City has got some very solid back end type of guys. The White Sox, everyone would think the White Sox are the guys that are going to dominate this because they do have the higher upside arms, but those higher upside arms are not all performing very well this year. And so that's, I mean, I didn't even have Iriarte on here. Jairo Iriarte, who probably has the biggest fastball of anyone in that system, and yet just is not doing anything but throwing fastballs with quality this year. So, you know, that you would think that the White Sox would have 3 of these 5 instead. That's not it. And we know Cleveland's going to develop guys. Cleveland's going to always have a guy or 2 that pops and you're just like, holy crap, that's now a guy, and he's going to come up and he's going to pitch for 5 years in the majors, and we're all going to be drooling over him on our fantasy teams, and then he's going to Aaron Savali it. So, you know, that's just, you know, how it goes.
Yeah. Demand a
I'm
trade.
not sure. Yeah. I'm not sure Soto deserves to be in the rotation, but that's fine. I'll just make it my. I'm throwing.
Do you have a name? Do you have another?
I like.
Who would you prefer?
I like Parker Messick a lot. I really do, but that's just me. So what do I care?
I will say,
just mine.
Everyone that, if you listen to kind of the big guys talking as he has come back this year, everyone went, oh, Soto is going to be just something special. And since he's been back, you know, 15 strikeouts and 13 innings and only 4 walks. So, but it has been, you know, in that defense, it has been a pretty short appearance so far. You really haven't seen a lot out of him yet. So I can understand.
Yeah, it's early and he's in the low end too. So maybe I'm just thinking.
Yeah, like I based my agreement on his like short career totals, knowing that he is now, you know, he's back, he's pitching, and just thinking like last year's K to 9 mixed with this year's low ERA to start. There's something brewing in a positive way here for him. And again, 19 years old. So, yeah.
If Messick's walks weren't up this year, maybe he'd make the cut. But they are up. But you know, whatever. Not a huge deal. Let's put a bow on it.
I think, quite frankly, I think the rest of the divisions are going to be looking up at the NL Central as far as pitching, no matter what we do. That is going to be a hell. I mean, I don't know how you match Chase Burns. I will make the argument that he right now is the number 1 pitcher in pitching prospect in baseball, because he's taken that step forward from college. I mean, he has all the looks of a top pitching prospect. Then you have Mizorowski and Chandler, who both are in the top 5 pitching prospects in all of baseball. And then add in, I mean, we're cutting off Cade Horton mainly because he's going to graduate, but I mean, and right now you could make an easy argument that he's in the top 5 pitching prospects in the game that are still eligible. So, and we're not even having him on this list. That's how good this rotation in the NL Central truly is.
There you go.
So just to recap for everybody, the NL Central, catcher, Moises Ballesteros, first base, Blake Burke, second base, Jefferson Rojas, shortstop, Thomas Sagasi, third base, Sal Stewart, outfield is Connor Griffin of Pittsburgh, Owen Casey of the Cubs, and Joshua Baez of St. Louis. The rotation, Burns, Mizorowski, Chandler, Roby, and Barco. And then the Central, the AL Central, Blake Mitchell's the catcher, CJ Kafis at first, Bazana at second, McGonigal at short, Billy Amick, get your Go Tigers ready. Outfield, Max Clark.
Go Tigers.
Gabriel Gonzalez on the comeback trail, Braden Montgomery with the White Sox. And then you can put away your Go Tigers button because here comes the rotation. Stan Hill, Noah Schultz, Charlie Soto, Connor Prelip, and Josh Hartle.
We're going to get all in your face and point out your faults.
Yeah. Wait. So next week is the draft.
MLB Draft Mock Round 1, baby. The fifth annual? Well, fourth annual.
A few annuals.
A few annuals. Yes, we're building a tradition here. A tradition like none other. What a pleasure it is. The Pallazzo podcast. We love doing the show. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and we'll look back later on at the end of the year. We'll be like, hey, did this lineup, these lineups look legit? Did we shit the bed? Did someone take off right after we broadcast this episode and just dominate the rest of the season and must be on the end of season, off-season rosters, which maybe we'll be doing that too in December or something. Who knows? The future's bright. And we're glad to be a part of it. We want to thank all of you guys for participating in the live chat. Everybody watching on Twitter, X, Twitch, YouTube, please subscribe, like our videos. It helps the show. It makes a difference. Follow us. Discord's free. Everything's in the description. Ben's baseball website, chasingbaseballgreatness.com. Just posted your latest and greatest, right, Ben?
Yep. It was a little late this last week, but got it out there, I think, on Friday or Saturday. Normally post every Wednesday with 10 guys that you can start paying attention to. This week I had a couple of guys who I did not say would necessarily ever see the major leagues, but the theme was guys who had recently been promoted, and two of the guys on that list had recently been promoted and may or may not ever be major leaguers, but they've made it up another level in the minors, so that was worth talking about. So
that's all that matters. That's the information we need here. ChasingBaseballGreatness.com. Check it out. Discord's free. Robbie Baseball, Benjamin Chase, Michael Govier. That's it for us. We'll be back Friday evening. It's the 7 o'clock show. And that'll say what we call the end. That'll say we call it the end. I don't know what I'm saying. Thanks, everybody. We're out of here.
Yeah,
no one can talk the show.
We can't speak no more. Time to go.
It's now